Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 2 Kings, the 25th chapter, this being the last chapter in the book of 2 Kings. And in here it concludes with the destruction of Jerusalem, right, with Nebuchadnezzar coming against Jerusalem. And ultimately, when you read about this in the secular history, right, the siege of Jerusalem by the Babylonians, there was a lot that happened, right? The temple was destroyed, the walls were broken down, the scrolls, everything was burnt, the gold and stuff was taken out, and so on and so forth. So we saw in the previous chapter leading up into this chapter that Nebuchadnezzar ended up taking Jehoiakim or Jeconiah captive into Babylon and setting up Zedekiah as the puppet ruler or vassal king, you could say, in his stead. So 2 Kings 25:1, and it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, this being the reign of Zedekiah, in the 10th month, and in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his host, against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and they built forts against it round about, and those being as I've showed before, when you typically when the enemy besieges a city and the walls are high, in order to scale those walls, they build these ramps, these like siege ramps, which give you cover on one side, but allow you to then almost like have a ladder right to the top, and then unleash it, and then be able to basically get through the defenses over there. And the city was besieged onto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. So that was about a 2-year, give or take, siege. And on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. So eventually they ran out of food. And this would have to be likely within that 2nd year, or really the 11th year of Zedekiah. And the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between two walls, which is by the king's garden. Now the Chaldees were against the city round about. That's what a siege typically is. You're surrounded, right? And the king went the way toward the plain. So basically Zedekiah and his men, right, the guard, they try to flee, because now having seen that, okay, the enemy was able to make a breach, and now they can run up into the city and take it over at any moment, they try to make a run for it here. And the army of the Chaldees pursued after the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army were scattered from him. So if we look up here, pursuit of Zedekiah in the Bible map, I wonder if we might find something here. Okay, maybe this might be the most accurate one here. Possible path of the Israelite captives to Babel. Okay, so I don't think anybody put together maybe it wasn't significant enough, right? But I don't think anybody put together a diagram from the path that he might have taken to escape. But you can imagine seeing, knowing where Jericho is, right? You can imagine around that area they try to flee through. So they ended up getting, as it says here, his army was scattered. So the Babylonians, right, the Chaldees, they basically caught him, and his army abandoned him. So they took the king, this being Zedekiah, and brought him up to the king of Babylon, to Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him. And if we look up here, let's see, Riblah in the land of Hamath. Okay. All right, this is not too bad. So we have Sidon all the way down here. And if we go up north, we can see, okay, here we have Hamath and Riblah. Trying to see if there's a Okay, maybe a better map here. All right, zoom in here a bit. All right, so we can see the territory of Israel. And then when you go up north, right, Sidon being over here, Hamath being up here. So Riblah would be somewhere over in here, the territory of the Syrians. All right, and makes sense, right? Because when you look at the let's see, let's go up here. Routes from, say, Babylon to Israel. Bible map. Let's see if we can get something similar here. Okay, this is not too bad, but if you look here, this is okay. If you look here, you can see how the arrows move, right? And majority of these arrows, if you look at how they're moving, whether it's going from the west towards the east or the east towards the west, it's going in this this arching kind of path, right? If you notice, it's not really going across. You know, why aren't they just going directly across over here? Why are they going all the way up through Syria and then coming down through the land of Israel here? Which is the same path they'd have to take if they wanted to get to Egypt. And the reason is because of the actual terrain, right? The way that it's set up. You had, you know, Jerusalem, Israel around here, and then you had on the east, right? You had some plains, but eventually you had the mountainous regions, and I believe all going on here was more deserty. So it wasn't really like, keep in mind, in a desert, right? Something that people don't often consider. In a desert, it's kind of like being on the ocean, but on sand. And you can very easily get lost, because for miles and miles and miles, you just see identical sand, right? Just like if you get lost at sea. You don't see anything that can let you know, okay, here's west, north. So that's why they use a compass. But it makes travel difficult when you're going. You have to deal with desert storms. You know, you have to really provision your trip because with food, with victuals, because if you run out, you're cooked. You ain't drinking no cactus juice over there. All right. So there's a lot of risk with trying to go through the desert and in the mountainous regions. And so the established path or the route was usually actually through here. That's why even when Abraham left, right, from Ur, he had to travel up north through Syria and then down into the land of Canaan. All right, and same with the Babylonians coming and going. They had to travel this route, which would then connect to some paths in here, right? I believe the path along the coast of the Mediterranean here was known as the Via Maris, which is the way of the sea, something like that. And then you had the King's Highway, which I believe was more on this side. So nonetheless, going back to where we were at here, so we know where Hamath is, right? And more specifically, we were looking at, I believe we were looking at Riblah. There we go. So they bring Zedekiah over there and they cast judgment upon him. And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. And so he had to watch his sons be put to death and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, poked his eyeballs out, and bound him with fetters of brass and carried him to Babylon. And fetters look like this, like shackles in a way. Fetters. Yeah. These are fetters, okay, like chains, shackles. So they took him to Babylon, and it is presumed that that's where he died. Verse 8, and so we know that the Lord or the lineage wasn't carried on through Zedekiah's line, right? Because his sons were put to death, and then he ends up dying. But we know there's one who is preserved, which is Jeconiah, and he's in Babylon at this time. Verse 8, and in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of the Lord Yahweh, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house burnt he with fire. And all the army of the Chaldees that were with the captain of the guard break down the walls of Jerusalem round about. So he completely broke it down, which is why it needed to be rebuilt again during the time of Jeremiah, or Nehemiah, as we went through. Let me see here. Siege of Jerusalem, 587. Trying to see. Okay, so this is not too bad, and this is just like a depiction here, but you can see the fires, right? The things being burnt and so on and so forth. This is I believe this is the during the Roman period, but the point is to give you a visual, right? When it says they burnt this, there's a lot of fire that's going on, right? Because remember, the temple was huge, so there's a lot of fire going on. You're seeing the places, a whole bunch of places lit up. So this is a very intense sight to see. Verse 10, and all the army of the Chaldees that were with the captain of the guard break down the walls of Jerusalem round about. Now the rest of the people that were left in the city and the fugitives that fell away to the king of Babylon, so those that basically defected to his side, consented, with the remnant of the multitude did Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carry away. So basically took them captive to Babylon. But the captain of the guard left of the poor of the land to be vine dressers and husbandmen. So not every single individual was taken away, right, into Babylon. Some were left, as I mentioned here, the poor of the land. And interestingly enough, not to say that Habakkuk was poor, but when you read in the book of Habakkuk, and actually, I think actually in the book of, I believe it's Bel and the Dragon, it mentions how Habakkuk was in Jewry, right, in Jerusalem or in Judea, and the Lord had an angel come in and pick him up and deliver food to Daniel. Now remember, when we read that part, actually, see if I can pull it up here. He mentions that he was making food and he was taking it to the reapers. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Right, it says here, now there was in Jewry. Now this is when Daniel was in the den. There was in Jewry a prophet called Habakkuk, who had made pottage and had broken bread in a bowl and was going into the field for to bring it to the reapers. Now, to be accurate here, right? I believe this was during the time of, let's see, which king was this with? I think this might have been with Cyrus. So this is basically not long after the Persians took over the Babylonians, right? Basically took out Belshazzar and his father and took over. So not long after that, because the king in this chapter here is Cyrus, right? Nevertheless, right, going to show that Habakkuk was in Israel, right? And as it says here, who had made pottage and had broken bread in a bowl and was going into the field for to bring it to the reapers. So while he was going to do that, the angel came up and said that food is really for Daniel. So he took him to go get that. Anyway, coming back to 2 Kings 25 and 13. And the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Lord Yahweh, and the bases, and the brazen sea that was in the house of the Lord, did the Chaldees break in pieces and carried the brass of them to Babylon. Now the brazen sea was the, if we look here at the temple, so let's see, Solomon's temple, which really was the Lord's temple, but this is what it's talking about, right? This was what it was referred to. And this was the giant basin of water or laver of water that was on top of the oxen, right? That was within the temple to provide water. So they broke that down and took the pieces and so verse 14, and the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the spoons and all the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered, they took away. So all of the materials they used to perform the ordinances of the Lord, the Babylonians took away. And, you know, for the Babylonians, it wasn't like it was that, let me call them the Chaldees as they're referred to in here. Slakia. It wasn't as though this was something sacred. This was a merch, right? It was riches. They took it. And the fire pans and the bowls and such things as were of gold, in gold, and of silver, in silver, the captain of the guard took away. The 2 pillars, 1 sea, and the bases which Solomon had made for the house of the Lord Yahweh, the brass of all these vessels was without weight, meaning it was too much to measure or to weigh. The height of the 1 pillar was 18 cubits, and the chapiter upon it was brass. And the height of the chapiter 3 cubits, and the wreathen work, and the pomegranates upon the chapiter round about, all of brass. And like unto these had the 2nd pillar with wreathen work. So the same design for the 1st and 2nd pillar. And the captain of the guard took Seraiah the chief priest, and Zephaniah the 2nd priest, and the 3 keepers of the door. And out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, and 5 men of them that were in the king's presence, which were found in the city. So those that you basically were of the king's court, and which being Zedekiah, right? And the principal scribe of the host, which mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land that were found in the city. That's 60. And Nebuzaradan, captain of the host, or captain of the guard, took these and brought them to the king of Babylon in Riblah. So you see here that the siege wasn't like a one-day thing. And even after they had broken through, it still wasn't a one-day thing. You know, they broke through, they destroyed things, they rounded up captives, they sent some to Babylon. Some of the important ones, they searched them out wherever they were hiding, brought them to Nebuchadnezzar, like, we found such and such, this guy seems to be this, he seems to be this, what do you want to do with him? And the king of Babylon smote them and slew them at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Judah was carried away out of their land, which is what the Lord said would happen, pursuant to the wickedness that was done, and more so what Manasseh did. And as for the people that remained in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon had left, even over them he made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, ruler. And when all the captains of the armies, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, there came to Gedaliah to Mizpah even Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, and Johanan, the son of Kareah, and Seraiah, the son of Tanhumeth, the Netophathite, and Jaazaniah, the son of a Maachathite, they and their men. So these captains of the host, and this guy Ishmael, right? Don't get it confused. Ishmael is a name, right? It doesn't. Whenever you see Ishmael here, it doesn't mean that they are an Ishmaelite or a descendant of, Ishmael, the progenitor of the Ishmaelites. It's just a name, right? It's like today you have an Israelite called Donald, right, or Bob, or some real Edomite like name. It doesn't mean that they are, a descendant of that person, so to speak here. Anyway, yeah, this guy Ishmael, as we're about to see the things that he does, you get that energy or that vibe of him having that proud, demonic spirit on him. So they basically heard about this, so they pulled up, and when they came, and Gedaliah sware to them and to their men, and said unto them, Fear not to be the servants of the Chaldees. Dwell in the land, and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. But it came to pass in the 7th month, that Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, the son of Elishama, of the royals or of the seed royal, so likely is of the line of Judah, somewhere along the lines, came and 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah that he died, and the Jews and the Chaldees that were with him at Mizpah. And now, for whatever reason he did it, whether they were of the mindset of, oh, this guy right here is basically submitted onto the Babylonians, whatever the case is, whatever they thought in their mind, they went and they put him to death, right? And they slew the Jews and the Chaldees that were there with him at Mizpah. So you can imagine that there were maybe like a few guards here and there, similar to what happens when one nation conquers another. They set up garrisons, right? Or they leave behind some overseers to just report back and make sure things are going smoothly and nothing unusual is going on. So Ishmael and his men slew them as well, and the Jews that were there with Gedaliah. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies, arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldees. Yeah, because they feared what the retaliation would be, having done this act over here, because word would get to Nebuchadnezzar and then they would be cooked. Now, when you actually read in the book of Jeremiah, it tells you that they ended up taking Jeremiah with them. Obviously not by his will, but it didn't seem like he had much of a choice there. And so there's a bit more details in the book of Jeremiah, I think specifically as it is given a precept here in the okay, well, maybe it's not this precept, but it's in the book of Jeremiah, the details of what else happened at this time. And it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim, king of Judah. So he is the one who was taken captive into Babylon, not Zedekiah. In the 12th month, on the 27th day of the month, that evil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, did lift up the head of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, out of prison. And this evil Merodach, here in the secular history, is known as Amel Marduk, actually the son of Nebuchadnezzar II. And you can see here, as it says, Amel Marduk, also known as Awil Marduk, or under the biblical rendition of his name, Evil Merodach. And I believe we read this or something similar in a previous lesson. But here it says, Amel Marduk, originally named Nabu-shum Ukin, was not Nebuchadnezzar's eldest son, nor the oldest living son at his appointment as crown prince and heir. Cool. It says, it is not clear why Amel Marduk was appointed by his father as successor, mainly since there appear to have been altercations between the two, possibly involving an attempt by Amel Marduk to take the throne while his father was still alive. After the conspiracy, Amel Marduk was imprisoned, and possibly together with Jeconiah, the captured king of Judah. Nabu-shum Ukin changed his name to Amel Marduk upon his release, possibly in reverence to the god Marduk, to whom he had prayed. Amel Marduk is remembered mainly for releasing Jeconiah after 37 years of imprisonment. Amel Marduk is also known to have conducted some building work in Babylon and possibly elsewhere, though the extent of his projects is unclear. So there's that, there's a record of it. And I think there's, in as far as actual secular or archaeological finds, I believe they were able to find the records of the rations that were given to Jeconiah or Jehoiakim, authorized by Amel Marduk. Let me see if I can find that. And if not in here, or you can always look it up. Yeah, so let me see. Amel Marduk rations for Yeah. Here we go. So this is one of them here. It says, okay, not all this. It says the Bible tells us what happened to Jehoiakim, 2 Kings 25 and 27 to 30, which we are about to read. But this they found, I think it says here, Jehoiakim's ration tablets while excavating at Babylon during 1899 to 1917. German archaeologist Robert Koldewey, I guess is this guy here, recovered nearly 300 cuneiform texts that record the dispersal of rations from the royal storehouses. These were found stored in a barrel vaulted underground. In a barrel vaulted underground building consisting of rows of rooms near the Ishtar Gate, 4 of which document the food rations of oil and barley given to the Judean king Jehoiakim, who is referred to personally along with his sons. The inscription reads, Yahu-Kinu, king of the land of Yahudu, which would translate to Yehuda, which is Judah, which is translated as Jehoiakim, king of the land of Judah. The rations, according to the tablets, are 10 selah of oil to Jehoiakim, king of Judah, 21/2, I don't know by what measure that is, selah oil to the sons of the king of Judah. The stone documents revealed that Jehoiakim is named with his royal title, king of Judah, so under evil Merodach he must have been given some royal standing. This is further supported by the substantial amount of rations he was given, enough to support many people. So there's your physical proof, right? That, going back to 2 Kings 25 and what we're about to read here, that this actually took place. Not that we need it, but, it says here, and he spake kindly to him. This was a evil Merodach speaking kindly to Jehoiakim, and set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon, and changed his prison garments, and he did eat bread continually before him all the days of his life. And his allowance, when you go into the word allowance here, it goes into rations, mainly for food, was a continual allowance given of him, or given him of the king, a daily rate for every day, all the days of his life. And that brings us to the end of the book of 2 Kings, the 25th chapter. So there you have it, right? You can see the preservation of Jehoiakim and his sons, which is important, as they were going to continue that line leading up until Yahushua coming on the scene. So, Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. We pretty much covered from in the book of Kings, right, from the time of King Solomon, Israel being at peace, to the divide of the kingdom, right, the divided monarchy, into the rule, the wickedness of the various kings, northern kingdom and southern kingdom. We also covered the deportation, right, what led up to and happened after the northern kingdom were taken out of their land by the Assyrians, and now concluding with the southern kingdom having been deported out of their land, Jerusalem having been destroyed by the Babylonians, and that's pretty much where we're at. So, Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.